Hi everybody, welcome back to the Le Petite Saint Crochet blog. I'm Elise and this is Little Petunia Piggy, and today I am sharing my best amigurumi yarn recommendations. I put my knitting needles down and I picked up my crochet hook because little P.O. Pig has waited long enough for his little lady friend. I've decided that I am finally going to make his little lady friend. I finished this one back up when we were in Disney World back in February, and it is now October, so it's been you have waited so long. You've been so patient. So this is a wonderful pattern from Crochet. This is her P and Po pattern, and I love her designs. So look at that cute little girl. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun. So now that I know what I'm making, I need to find the perfect yarn. I know that I'm going to use the pink that I already used for his little body here, but I've got to decide for her little dress, do I want to go with the pinks and the purples there, or do I want to match him? So I'm just going to grab some yarn out and kind of make a decision. So this is my little crochet room. It's where I keep all of my yarn and all of my amigurumi, all of these things. And it also serves as a guest bedroom for when our daughter comes home. So I'm going to put him here, and I've got that pink that I have. This is the Barocco Vintage, and I really love this yarn for making amigurumi. It's really soft and the colors are gorgeous. So this is where I keep some of my Barocco Vintage here, and these are the actual colors that I use, this mustard yellow and this duck egg blue. So I really love these together. That would look really cute, being kind of matchy-matchy. I do that with my husband sometimes, like when we go to church, I like us to sort of, not necessarily match, but coordinate. So I think that's sort of fun. Or we could just coordinate. We don't have to match. So I do have this beautiful, like almost like a fuchsia kind of a color. I really love that. And I like it with this. This is actually lighter than that duck egg blue. It's almost just really pretty. I love those colors together. So that's an option. That's an option for my Barocco Vintage. But now I also have here, this is where I store all of my paint box yarn. So I also love this. These are great. There's so many different colors. I could do a bright pink. Oh my gosh, that would be so fun. Got purple. I have all these beautiful colors. I could go in a completely different direction and go with greens or yellows. I have a lot of this paint box. I just keep it actually in this old drawer that I have. It's kind of fun, and I keep it just up in the closet. So I'm gonna just fiddle around a little bit and decide what this little new piggy is going to look like. Is she gonna coordinate? Is she gonna match? I've created a 5-step process for choosing the best yarn for your next amigurumi project. So there are some yarns that are better suited for amigurumi projects than others. And a lot of times I see beginners get really discouraged when they're making their first amigurumi projects because they've chosen the wrong yarn, whether it just isn't holding up or they don't like the final outcome. So we're really going to dive into each one of those steps. Your first step is going to choose a pattern. Now there are a lot of free and paid patterns out there online, and there are books, and so there are so many to choose from. I chose the P and Po from Crochet, and I'm so glad I did because I think they turned out absolutely adorable. They actually really remind me of my husband and I for some reason. But anyway, my suggestion is to always choose a pattern that is approximately around your skill level. So if you're a beginner, look for beginner patterns. If you're intermediate, look for intermediate patterns. But one thing that I really did to stretch my skills and to get better was to choose patterns that were just a tad bit outside of my comfort zone. And that is after I already had my basics down. So if you're a true beginner, please look for beginner-friendly patterns, especially online tutorials that will really help. So as you get better and better, choose patterns that maybe just stretch those skills a little bit and use them as learning opportunities. The next step is to choose the weight of your yarn. The first thing you're going to want to do is look at that pattern to see what does the designer recommend, and then go with that if you want, especially if you want your toy to come out exactly the same size and everything. So if you're like me, you have a favorite yarn and you are going to disregard what the designer recommends. So that's just how I do it. I love working with worsted and Aran weight yarns. That is just my go-to anytime I am crocheting amigurumi. So the Craft Yarn Council has designated the weight of yarn. So if you see, there's a number back here, and this is a medium 4. It's an Aran weight. And then my Barocco Vintage, although it is considered a worsted weight, is also a 4. Now, a lot of amigurumi is crocheted with DK and worsted weight. I've seen that, and I really feel like if it's a DK, it's just going to be a little bit smaller. If it's a worsted, it's just going to be a tiny bit bigger. And honestly, I have seen no difference between my paint box and the Barocco Vintage as far as size goes. Now, I have something here and I just want to show you with my Debbie Bliss Baby Cashmerino. I do not use this to crochet amigurumi. I use this to knit clothes for the little cotton rabbits. But if you look at the label here, there is nothing that indicates, oh, this is a 2 or a 3 or a 4. This is considered a 2-ply. It's a much lighter weight. And unfortunately, some labels don't give you the exact information, and you may have to go online and do a little bit of research to figure that out for yourself. Don't be afraid to experiment a little bit with the yarn weight. So if you just have a yarn that you love and say the pattern calls for a DK and it's a worsted weight, don't really worry about that so much. The sizes may vary a little bit and you could change your hook size if you wanted to. But if you are really drastically going to change your yarn weight, just know that it could distort the pattern a little bit and your toy may come out quite different. Your next step is going to be to choose your yarn fiber. Now, in the beginning, I was primarily crocheting amigurumi with cotton yarn, and I found out that because cotton is a little less stretchy, it started to really cause problems, and I developed severe tendonitis in my elbow because of that. So I've begun to do a little bit of research and started educating myself about yarn fibers. So now I love 100% all natural fibers, but in the wool category, that can get quite expensive, or if you wanted to use alpaca or something else, that can get quite expensive. So at this point, I am using wool blends. So the paint box is a wool acrylic blend, and the Barocco Vintage is a wool acrylic nylon blend. And I really actually like this one, and I think the nylon gives it a tad bit of a stretch, and that just helps with my joints. So educating yourself a little bit about yarn and a little bit about fiber and costs and pros and cons will go a long way in creating beautiful amigurumi. If you already have some yarn at home, or possibly you bought some yarn and you aren't sure if it's going to work for your amigurumi project, I highly recommend making what I'm calling an amigurumi swatch. Now, this is very different than what you would make if you were making a swatch for a garment. It's not going to be flat. I would really recommend making the top of the head of your amigurumi, because that's exactly what this is. It's like a little cup, it's like a little dome. This will show you how much structure your yarn is going to have, because in my opinion, this is just my humble opinion, that something that is super drapey that you might really love for a sweater may not work well for amigurumi, because this has a nice little structure. It's like a little bowl right here. It is not floppy. It's not caving in on itself. I can shape it very nicely and it is going to stay. So it's nice and thick. So I really recommend, if you're not sure, just try this. It's going to take a few minutes, but you will quickly see if this is going to work for your project. If you don't have your pattern yet, but you would like to test out your yarn, I actually have on my blog post the first 6 rounds of this pattern. This will actually be a great test to see if your yarn will work well for amigurumi. So the last step is to choose the colors, and this is like the most fun part to me. So I ultimately decided that I wanted Little Pio and Petunia to actually match. So they're wearing the same colors. These are exactly the same, and I just put them in different places, and I think it turned out so cute. So really play around with that, and I actually have some blog posts about choosing the best colors and how to do that. I use Pinterest a lot to create color palettes, and there are some wonderful ways to choose colors without you having to know a lot about color theory. There are a lot of wedding people out there who put these beautiful color palettes together that really help us makers to go, ooh, this is a beautiful color palette together, because I might not have put all of these colors together, but they actually look really pretty with the pink and this duck egg, the mustard, and this rust color. It really looks beautiful together. So utilize some resources out there to pick gorgeous colors. Thank you so much for stopping by the Le Petit Saint Crochet blog. If you would please hit that like button, that subscribe button, that would be wonderful. And I would love to hear from you. Are there any topics that you would like for me to talk about related to amigurumi or crocheting or knitting? I would love to know. Also, all of the links to everything I mentioned are in the blog post, and you can find that in the description box below. And I hope to see you back next week.